Hey there guys, this is Cole. Welcome back to another movie review. Today we are continuing on the Halloween Horror Movie Review Season 1, Episode 18. And today's movie is a movie that I watched for the first time last night called The Frighteners, starring Michael J. Fox. So, now this is a movie that throughout the years I'd heard really good things about, but until recently I never got around to watching it, but it was on my radar for a while. But I ended up watching this movie for free on Tubi last night, and I actually really liked it. So, what is the basic plot to the 1996 movie, The Frighteners? Well, the plot of this movie is as follows. Once an architect, Frank Bannister, played by Michael J. Fox, now passes himself off as an exorcist of evil spirits to bolster his facade. He claims his special gift is the result of a car accident that killed his wife. But what he does not count on is more people dying in the small town where he lives. As he tries to piece together the supernatural mystery of these killings, he falls in love with the wife, Dr. Lucy, and deals with crazy FBI agent Milton, played by Jeffrey Combs. So yeah, this movie overall, one thing I will say about it is that this does have a really good cast, and this is a movie I was interested to check out, not only because it has Michael J. Fox in it, who is one of my personal favorite actors of all time from, movies like the Back to the Future movies, and I also do enjoy that family movie he was in, Homeward Bound, The Incredible Journey, but I was also interested in this movie because it was directed by Peter Jackson. Yes, that's right. Lord of the Rings director himself, Peter Jackson, directed this movie. That was my main interest point because I am a huge fan of the first three Lord of the Rings movies. So I'm like, really? He did this movie? And I'm like, okay, I like Peter Jackson and I like Michael J. Fox. So I'm like, I gotta check this out. Now, anyways, how was the movie received? Well, when The Frighteners was released on October 16th, when the movie was released on July 19th, when the movie was released on July 19th, 1996, it received positive reviews from critics and audiences, but it was a box office disappointment, making $30 million worldwide on a $26 million budget, but throughout the years has gained a massive cult following. Now, after this movie, Peter Jackson would go on to direct the Lord of the Rings movies, which is one of the biggest movie franchises, as we all know. As for my reaction to the movie, yeah, I absolutely love this movie. I'm so glad I watched it. So without further ado, let's get into my review. So the movie starts off where we're basically at like this haunted house and a ghost basically attacks a couple there. And throughout the course of the movie, there's a character by the name of Frank Bannister who, like I said, is played by Michael J. Fox. And whenever people report a supernatural presence, he goes to their house to, take care of it. And early on in the movie, Frank Bannister, played by Michael J. Fox, accidentally crashes into a person's yard with their car and stuff like that. And then he leaves the place. And then not long after that, we are introduced to a couple. Named Lucy and Ray, who basically are a couple that live in a house. And early on in the movie, basically, Lucy is on top of the bed, and the bed starts levitating in the air with her on it. So they basically call off supernatural hunter Frank Bannister, played by Michael J. Fox, to take care of it. And this is honestly one of my favorite Michael J. Fox roles. And sadly, this was one of the last live action roles he did before his Parkinson's disease got really bad. But yeah, Michael J. Fox was great in this movie. And not just him, but the whole cast is really good in this movie. I mean, this movie's got a really good cast. You got Michael J. Fox, you got Trini Alvarado, you got Peter Dobson, you got Chi McBride, you got Arlie Ermy from Full Metal Jacket, and Jeffrey Combs. So this movie's got a really stacked cast. But anyways, getting back to the movie, our main character of the movie, Frank Bannister, he's basically at Ray and Lucy's house, and he basically tells them what he knows about this supernatural activity, and he basically sees that on a person's head that, he basically sees that Ray, which is Lucy's husband, has a number marked on his head, and he basically asked the husband, "What is that number marked on your head?" And the husband freaks out. He's like, "Are you trying to play some sick type of joke on me? Leave our house now," and stuff like that. And then, you know, throughout the course of the movie, we basically learned that basically the number that is marked on people's heads, it basically means what number victim is going to die next, because the Grim Reaper is the one responsible for, you know, all these deaths occurring. And our lead character, Frank Bannister, played by Michael J. Fox, has to stop it. And another thing I think works really well about this movie is the humor. I mean, what this movie does such a good job at, it perfectly balances horror and comedy. Like, for example, my favorite ghost in this movie by far has got to be Cyrus, who is played by Chi McBride. I thought that he was absolutely hilarious. Like, for instance, the whole scene where you basically have a baby, and the ghost Cyrus basically says to the baby, "We're here to scare your parents, okay?" But then the baby basically smiles and he's like, "See, the little fella's got it." And then basically Cyrus and some other ghost, they basically, I mean, we as the audience can see them, but the people can't. But we see the ghosts pick up the babies, and the babies are floating, but the babies are smiling, and the parents freak out. I thought that scene was rather funny. And throughout the course of the movie, our main character, Michael J. Fox, played by Frank Bannister, he starts to fall in love with Dr. Lucy because Dr. Lucy's wife, Ray, just so happened to die. And I thought that Michael J. Fox and Trini Arado as these two characters had wonderful chemistry together. For example, the whole scene, for instance, where Frank Bannister, played by Michael J. Fox, is talking to Lucy, like the part where they're talking at the dinner table, see, Frank can see ghosts, but other people can't, and basically, Lucy's wife, Ray, is at the table, and they're having, you know, she's having a conversation with Michael J. Fox, and she says some stuff about Ray that he doesn't like, and, you know, like, just that scene alone, like, rather well done scene. And then the whole scene where the Grim Reaper is attacked, where Michael J. Fox is, you know, well, the main character, Frank Bannister, is using the bathroom, and he hears, this movie, and I gotta be honest, I don't know why this movie was rated R, to be honest, because it's not that violent of a movie. This movie doesn't have blood or gore in it, so I'm kind of surprised this movie was even R-rated in the first place. If anything, this honestly feels more like a PG-13 movie than an R rating, and there isn't any blood in it, so I don't really know why they didn't just rate this movie PG-13, but oh well, it is what it is, I guess. And unfortunately, I do think that is one factor that might have hurt this movie, because this is meant to be more of like a horror comedy where it's not bloody, and it's not like this movie's excessive on swearing either, so I'm kind of surprised this movie got an R rating. And I think the R rating is something that might have hurt this movie at the box office, because when they released this movie in July, Independence Day was still playing in the theater, and that movie was rated PG-13, and like, that was the biggest movie of 1996, as we all know. So unfortunately, I do as much as I love that movie, Independence Day, I do think that honestly did hurt this movie's chance at being a bigger success, but at least the movie's made its money back on DVD and VHS, so that's a good thing. And another thing I will say does work really well about this movie, I think this movie has a good mystery to it, because throughout the course of the movie, like I said, our main character, Frank Bannister, played by Michael J. Fox, he basically finds out that, like, more people in his town are dying from this supernatural presence, the Grim Reaper, and Michael J. Fox's character, he does not know why this is happening. And you know, another character I really like in this movie is Sergeant Hills, played by Arlie Ermy, and I thought he was absolutely hilarious. Like the whole scene where Frank Bannister, played by Michael J. Fox, is at Ray's funeral, and his Ray's wife Lucy is there, and then the whole part with the drill sergeant, Sergeant Hills, played by Arlie Ermy, basically yelling at Frank Bannister, "There's a name with your tombstone signed on it right here." Like, I thought that scene was absolutely hilarious. Rest in peace, Arlie Ermy. That guy was such a great actor, you know, whether it would be this movie, Full Metal Jacket, the 2003 Texas Chainsaw remake, just, that guy was a great actor. He also voiced one of the toy soldiers in the original Toy Story movie, which is one of my favorite animated movies of all time, so it's nice to see him in this movie. And I will say, this movie does have a decent mystery to it, because throughout the course of the movie, like this whole Grim Reaper, like, until later in the movie, you have no idea why the Grim Reaper is going after people and why it's putting numbers on people's heads as, like, the next victims. Like, this movie has a rather decent mystery to it. And another character I really like in this movie is the crazy FBI agent Milton, who is played by Jeffrey Combs. And the reason I really like his character is because he kind of reminds me of Jim Carrey to a certain extent, and I'm a huge Jim Carrey fan, as you guys know. But the main character, Frank Bannister, played by Michael J. Fox, even though he's innocent, he does get blamed for all these deaths occurring in town, and he gets in jail. And then Lucy, who falls in love with him, breaks him out of jail and stuff like that. And I thought that, you know, and man, like, I'm not going to spoil how this movie ends, but there was a really good twist about the Grim Reaper that I did not see coming whatsoever. I mean, that twist was like, wow, like, I did not expect that at all. But I'm not, I'm not going to give away anything else other than that, because, and also I do, and now this does not give away the twist whatsoever, but I do like how this movie has a good ending where Michael J. Fox, his character, Frank Bannister, is able to have a happy ending with Lucy, and, you know, they go off, and yeah. At the end of the day, this is a really good movie. I don't want to give away a whole lot for those who haven't seen this movie, but this is definitely a good horror comedy I would recommend, especially since it's October. Now would be the perfect time to watch it. It is free on Tubi. I also think it might be free on Peacock and Prime Video, but I'm not sure. But yeah, at the end of the day, I did really like this movie, and I would like to buy it on DVD sometime. On a scale of 1 to 10, I am going to give The Frighteners a 9 out of 10. So there we go, guys. That was my review of The Frighteners. Now, next up, I will be reviewing the 1984 horror classic, A Nightmare on Elm Street. We will be taking a look at that next. But until then, we'll catch you guys later. Bye-bye now.